Hi there. I hope everybody's doing good. I'm coming back now because I did a prediction for the global energies for the astrological year from equinox March 21 to 22 with Lada in the beginning of April 21, where I saw that the last 4 months from late November 21, when the sun moved into Sag, to the equinox in late March 22 on a collective and global level would be extra challenging compared to the 4 months prior to that, which had a lighter feel, and that mostly attributed to a relief from restrictions and people in general still having hope for the world to return to normal with the rollout of the shots. But those feelings would turn into disillusion and disappointment, and I saw strife and conflict, and that is the energy we just entered into. So I thought I would take a closer look at those last months to see what is going on energetically for the moment. Before I start, I want to mention that this is of course again a general and collective reading. It can obviously vary for each individual. It can also be good to know that whenever you look at the time period more than once, it usually does not take away from that which has been already shown. Yes, the future can shift depending on factors not captured by a reading, and there can be jumps between timelines that happens outside the foreseen, and there are reasons for that. But mostly a second look gives additional and complementing information to deepen the understanding of what is already revealed. So you may want to go back to that reading. It is still relevant, and you will find it on the channel or at my profile page on AstroLada.com, where you can also connect with me if you want me to take a look at where you are energetically and where it is heading for you on a personal level. Okay, so what I picked up on for the time we are in now, having started already with the sun entering Sag in November until it leaves Pisces in 2022, is to a large degree an energy of conflict between rivaling and competing ideas, perspectives and positions, between people and groups of people, and between the people and the establishment, the governments and institutions. Whatever harmony we had experienced prior to this was and is getting slapped in the face. Many people are experiencing now that their basic human rights as citizens of their countries and their choices for their bodies and lives are being infringed on in a way that is unprecedented in our time. Some people are in favor of this and think it is a good idea, but many are not, and they will grow in numbers as time goes by. The rights and freedoms that are being taken away will have to be fought for. They will not be handed back just like that, even though this fighting can take many different forms. More and more people are realizing this, waking up to this development that not long ago seemed unlikely and maybe even absurd. This is the new reality of things on the planet. What I am now additionally being shown for the overall energy of these 4 solar months is that it is adverse times, yes, but we have what it takes to get through it. We have the strength. Power is a theme for the time period. In a way, one could say that it is a theme for a larger time span than this, but it is being an extra focus right now. A part of this is about becoming aware of our own power and understanding how powerful we in reality are and what we can do with this power and how not to give it away. Even though our outer physical reality is extremely challenging for many with the way events are going, the pressure also has the potential to wake up, make us realize who we are and what we can do, that we have so much more power than we know. It is a time of cutting through illusions and peeling away yet more layers of what is going on to get to the core truth and a clear understanding both of ourselves and the world and the relationship between the two. Increasingly, many will start to see through the veil of the physical reality the material universe and begin to really both understand the underlying spiritual principles of everything, how they work, and start to use them. To be awake, as I define it, is to know who you are, a mystical, magical, spiritual being, and to live that truth. It is not an intellectual understanding, even though that could be a part and a beginning. It is a knowing within, an experience that changes you. We are all in different stages of this process, which can happen over time or suddenly. Many have already begun to think, communicate, and be differently as a result of connecting on a deeper level with themselves. Others are about to, and the rest of us needs to, in order to get through the hurdles presented now and that are coming. This is a time of culmination of some sorts. For some, that may mean also that separations are possible. People may disappear out of our lives, and most often it is because the elements of that relationship are done with. The energy can also bring a birth of a very special child who in some way will bring light and inspiration to the world. But that does not have to be literally. It could be a figurative birth of our own true selves, in the sense that our true selves are coming forward. The time for looking for a savior outside of us is definitely behind us. Looking at the 4 solar months more closely, one by one, month by month, the Sun in Sag will definitely be the most challenging period, which is mostly due to the massive fear running rampant and consuming so many of us. This fear to a high degree comes from believing and giving power to a narrative that does not necessarily mirror the actual truth about life or what is going on. It is from not understanding that what we hear and see with our physical eyes in general and especially in media is just a reporting on actual happenings and events with no understanding of what is at work underneath and behind it. But this is also a time to see through all sorts of illusions on every level and in every area of our lives, both personally and at large. And by doing so, breaking the chains that are still holding us in shackles. We are asked to see through appearances and judge righteously, as someone so wisely said, to lift our eyes and see beyond what is going on, to hold a vision of our future and stick to it and knowing it is ours. One of the things that can help us with this is to understand that what is playing out now in our individual lives or globally has already happened on an energetic level, and where this will go is largely dependent on our reactions to it, on what feelings and emotions we are holding. Whatever we entertain today will be the reality of tomorrow. That is true for each and every one of us, regardless of if we believe it or not. That is not the same thing as being in denial. We can be aware of evil and negativity, but it is a completely different thing feeding it with our attention and energy. There is a warning here not to chain ourselves either to things or people who would place us in servitude, and to be cautious signing contracts and agreements. When the Sun enters Capricorn in December, things will shift a little bit and feel better. Many will have a sense of having been through the worst and of now escaping difficulty, feeling change in the air, creative energy, and a new momentum. Long-standing conditions will be showing signs of changing or moving again. There will also be synchronicities at work, and if you have been keeping up your spiritual practices, you may at this point start seeing the signs of what you want to create coming into being, some of them actually even before you know that you want it. This is an assurance that you eventually will find what you are looking for, so get on with it and stick with it. Remain upbeat and positive. Whatever you are dealing with, it will change. The biggest challenge during this solar month would be to incorporate all that we have already learned. Increasingly, many of us will feel that we can no longer hide our beliefs and have a growing courage to make them known because of our deepening spiritual connection. We will feel that it is time to step into who we truly and really are with all that entails. This will give us a sense of optimism and increased self-assurance, and it is with this renewed confidence and enthusiasm we can reach our goals and have our visions manifest. Although the efforts can at times draw on our energy reserves as there is hard work involved, managing to stay present and connected. There can for some be trips taken or some other kind of movement, but this is not really a time for travel. Those who does travel anyway need to be careful and cautious. For some, health matters may arise and need attention. Remember that absolutely everything can be dealt with and overcome and handled. So keep your eyes on where you are heading. Keep your eyes on the prize, so to speak, and power through. Practice being present and use the tools you have, including words of power, affirmations, affirmative prayer, mantras, and visualizations. In the solar month of Aquarius, part of the realization will be around understanding that maybe things were not that good before the world took a spin with this bug, before all that has transpired this last 1.5 to 2 years, especially not when you compare to what can be. Glorifying the past is in reality only a way of blocking progress and the potential of the new future that we can and will be creating for ourselves, so do not let nostalgia get in the way of current goals. But not only memories and thoughts of the past can surface, also opportunities we dismissed and skills and abilities that we have not been using for a while. These things need to be reconsidered, and one reason is that efforts of the past has a potential for future rewards with this energy. Goals that are set can be achieved if maintaining a steady application of personal energy. Issues with children or issues that are important to children, both our own or others, can be highlighted. In the Pisces solar month, things will mend, and there could be some joyful reunions and old wounds healing. All things that allow us to move on, and there will be a positive indication of the direction forward. Many will feel their intuition being strengthened, and there is extra much benefit to draw from working and getting together with groups and like-minded. It can lead both to a deepening of a spiritual awakening and or renewal. If health has been an issue, there can be healing taking place. There is a potential for a huge turning point during these 4 solar months. We are not doomed to have this gloomy scenario that presents itself on the most obvious level to play out. But we all have to make an active choice of what energies we entertain and align ourselves with, and to what we lend our power. Even though this situation has been going on for some time now and become our everyday life, from another perspective, things have happened so fast that many of us wonder what happened. The challenges are making us stepping into who we are. When things get serious and the gun is loaded, pointed at us, there is no longer room for procrastination and the postponing of anything, nor of wasting time and energy in any way. There are strong supportive energies at this time that also both requires more than usual, but in return can give more. So those of us who put in the work can expect to elevate our present status despite everything. The reward will be in exact proportion to our previous output. And during this time too, many of us are hoping to find new ways of supporting themselves, especially by turning a talent or a hobby or an interest into a new career. More and more are beginning to understand that what we need in terms of work may no longer be available for us unless we create it ourselves. We need to understand how we ourselves personally and collectively have created a reality regardless of it being intentionally or not, consciously or not. All is energy, and there are no boundaries at the fundamental level of the universe. We are all a part of the whole, and we have an effect on our lives and on the whole. So it matters what we entertain within ourselves. If we change ourselves, we not only change our own personal lives, but the whole world. Yes, there are things happening that are difficult, and for some very much so, but nobody can anymore afford the luxury of wallowing in emotions or self-pity. We need to grow up, be mindful and aware of our own power to create a reality and how we project. Recognizing that we set our own limitations through thoughts and beliefs is the first step out of any situation created. For some, this may mean a need to go deep inside the psyche and seek answers that help break out of the self-imposed confinement. We may be restricted by present surroundings and circumstances, or censored or prevented in some way from expressing ourselves. But if we are afraid to leave old habits and circumstances behind, we will not be free. Not all of us are having a very challenging time. Actually, some are having the best time of their lives right now, despite what is going on, depending on work already done, challenges of the past that has been transcended, and for those this time period can bring the rewards they have earned sooner than later. Many are also feeling that which is happening on the planet is why they even came here in the first place. And there is nothing as rewarding as doing your soul's work. This is also a time to listen extra closely to good advice, which may come through someone else or from your own inner self. We will all need moments of quiet to hear the messages, so we are asked to make space for that. We should also be sure to avoid people or groups that may be preying on our need for spiritual comfort, and make sure that anyone we take help from is in integrity and aligned. We also need to make sure that our own internal messages come from our soul and not our ego masquerading. The outcome I see, despite a certain positive development and energy in the months leading up to the equinox in March 22, is intense. There will be some grief as more and more of us are realizing more and more that there really is no going back to normal, quote unquote. The world that once was is no more and never will be again. For some, this can be a real heartbreak with intense feelings of loss and disappointment, a deep distress that has been building up. But the grief does not need to be personal. For some, it will be an existential sorrow and suffering from seeing the pain of others and realizing the state of affairs in the world. There can be some painful, sobering but necessary insights. We may for a moment feel that all is lost, but the truth is that this too shall pass. And when we understand that, the healing begins. When we let it go and move on to a new understanding and perspective. Not by repressing or pushing the pain away, but somehow transforming it. There is then an energy of hitting bottom here, of enough is enough kind of vibe, and that would be related to our personal private lives as well as the collective. We are asked to stay very focused, in integrity and aligned with our spiritual being and power in order not to lose ourselves to pain and negatives. When we are done grieving and had transmuted the pain, we are ready to take on whatever comes our way, ready to move forward into our beautiful future by being present one moment at a time. Thank you for listening, and blessings to all.